ALB is probably one of the most ubiquitous ways to balance load in an Amazon environment. The best way of analyzing all this is to ingest it straight into Coralogix. So let's explore how you do that, and then we'll look at some of the things you can do once you've got the data. So I've configured my ALB through. You can see like you have various different monitoring options here. It's taking a minute for Amazon to load there, but you can see a bunch of different metrics around requests that are coming in and that kind of thing. If you go to attributes, you have a monitoring section here, and you can actually configure access logs, and that's what I've done. And I've written them to an S3 bucket. And then what I can do is I can go back to my Coralogix account. I go to integrations, and I look for S3, and we have AWS S3 log collection. And I've literally just gone through an integration process where it just deploys a Lambda function that collects data. I can create keys, call it anything you want, doesn't matter. And what I can do is I can go through this whole process, give it an S3 bucket name, my S3 bucket. We're going to cancel this one anyway. When you go next, what it will do is it will generate for you a CloudFormation stack, so that when I click this button, it automatically generates for me exactly how this is going to look. Now, I'm not going to apply this, obviously, because I already got one, but you click complete, and that'll be you done. So what can you do once the data arrives? Well, you'll notice here that I already have an alarm, and if I look at the logs very briefly, you'll see that they're all parsed and the data's broken out. It doesn't actually look much like an ALB log. So why is that? Why is it that these logs look parsed? The reason why is because I deployed an extension. So if we go to extensions here, we can see, if I get rid of S3 for a second, we have the AWS ALB security extension deployed. I also have, by the way, the observability extension. The security extension has a parsing rule built into it. And so once I open this, you can see what it's actually going to do. And it will do really sophisticated regex. But what comes out is this beautifully parsed JSON object that's much easier to work with. But that's not all you get. So if I open up custom dashboards here, we can actually, out of the box, get all of the things we need to get from our ALB data. You'll notice, by the way, that these widgets are powered by metrics. We'll get onto that in a moment. But you can see here that it actually breaks down the client IP addresses, source countries. It breaks down by the top targets, if there are any, top user agents that are hitting the ALB endpoint, HTTP versus HTTPS. A variety of different things here. So I didn't make this dashboard. I deployed the extension, it automatically populated. I also get some additional data around processing time, so I can actually look at how long it's taking for things to be processed and sort of calculated. And of course, I can look at response analysis as well. And there's not much response because we haven't generated any errors. These are all 200 requests, so it's looking pretty healthy. Apart from this one, it starts with a 4, and I suspect it may well be a 404. So just out of the box, I get these, but it's not all I get. So like I said, you notice here these things are all powered by metrics and not logs. Makes them very, very efficient. And the reason for that is because when we deployed the extension, it also deployed events to metrics, and it actually generated metrics from those logs. And before we get into some of the more sophisticated observability techniques, I just want to talk quickly about cost optimization. Access logs can be very, very expensive. So what you can do is you can go to the TCO optimizer, and you could define something that looks a bit like this. So we can see here that we're sending all of our data, all of our access logs are going straight to the monitoring level. Now this means metrics can still be generated from them. This means that machine learning algorithms can be updated for log regression, error spike anomaly tracking, alerting, and so on. All of that happens automatically, but you pay a 70% discount. Now, what you could do, for example, is say, okay, any error level logs, they have to go to sort of high. But right now, we've just assigned 100% of them to the monitoring level. We've made ourselves a 70% ingestion and retention discount. And remember, monitoring data is stored in cloud storage in your account. So not only have you removed the most of the ingestion cost, you've eliminated the retention cost on the Coralogix side. And of course, because of the way Coralogix works, you're able to query your data however you like, which is really, really nice. So if I go to all logs mode here, I can actually see that my data is in my archive. And this is my archive data right now. I'm querying it directly. It's so cool. So just off the bat, just having a look at this, what we're essentially saying is with Coralogix and ALB, you can get access to all of your data. There's no more compromising on which insights you can afford to keep. transform the data and store the data in the most efficient place. So we've kind of dug into a few things there. I'll quickly run over some of the other things that the extension has deployed because it's really quite powerful. And the first thing is it deployed a load of alarms, and you can see that ALB is not using a secure listener. So there's a security alert that was deployed automatically. And if I open this up, we'll see a breakdown of what actually triggered, what actually indicated to the log, what actually indicated to Coralogix that there was something wrong. So all of these logs are actually indicating to Coralogix that there is something wrong, and the SSL protocol is not set, and the client is not set to GeoIP local, which means it's not talking to a local server, and the actions executed are not in the WAF, which means that we're essentially not using SSL, and it's picked up on that, and it's told us about that. That might not be something we're considering. If, for example, we have encryption at the load balancer, and then we terminate the SSL and we do plain text encryption or plain text conversation internally, we don't really want that. We want encryption throughout if possible. So it's a really, really powerful way of solving that problem. Now, this is just some of the alarms, but of course in Coralogix you could collaborate around these, you can resolve them, you can assign users to them, you can really work around this data. And of course, just because the alerts have been generated by a extension doesn't necessarily mean you can't change them. You can pick any of these and you can change them however you like, in whatever ways you like, and it won't break the extension at all. So after like 3 or 4 clicks, I ingested my data into Coralogix in an unobtrusive way using a Lambda function via S3, and I've deployed dashboards, alerts, logs, metrics, parsing rules. It goes on and on and on. And moreover, with the power of Coralogix, you can set up custom views as well. So you could do things like here, we have an ALB monitoring view. And you can actually see that we have no data in the past 15 minutes because everything's going to the monitoring tier, which is amazing. We'll expand it to the last 24 hours, and you've got a nice breakdown of things like by ALB status code, and the log column changes. So those are just some of the ways that ALB can be investigated and understood in the context of Coralogix. But it's really important to highlight, I didn't make any of these resources. I deployed the extension and they happened straight away. You got security insights, observability insights, processing dashboards, IP addresses, countries, much, much more. And of course, infinitely scaling archive using cloud object storage. So all of those things add up to make a really, really powerful case for using ALB with Coralogix.